Good afternoon and welcome to the world premiere of Tommy Robinson's latest documentary, Silenced. Even though Morten Messerschmidt is not here, I would like to start with a big thank you to him. I hope he can hear it later. He's the official host of this event. Morten Messerschmidt, leader of the Danish People's Party. We're very happy that he made it possible for us to be here today. And of course, a very warm welcome to our guest, Tommy Robinson. It is always a great honor and pleasure to have you in our midst, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say to us, and of course to watch your film. Before we get started, I will briefly review the afternoon's program. In a moment, I'll leave the floor to Tommy and his premiere of the film Silenced, and after that we'll have a break, about 15 minutes, where you can have a glass of wine in the hall. And after the break, Tommy will answer as many of your questions as possible, and we end the event at 5 p.m. So, as I said, it is an honor and a privilege to welcome Tommy Robinson once again to Denmark and to the Free Press Society. The Free Press Society considers Tommy Robinson to be the backbone of Britain and one of the most important voices in the European debate on free speech. The last time Tommy Robinson visited us was in 2020, when he received the Free Press Society's Freedom of Expression Award, the Sappho Prize. But today, he has come to present his latest documentary, which is premiered here in Copenhagen, so you will be the first to watch it. I will leave the detailed presentation of the film to Tommy Robinson himself, but just say a few words about the increasingly long series of documentaries that he has produced in recent years. All of Tommy Robinson's documentaries are driven by his social indignation and a profound love for his country, which often make them heartbreaking to watch. But it also makes them imperative to watch, as the documentaries constitute a contemporary testimony of the social and cultural consequences of the population change in England and the collapse of the rule of law. And what is just as important, it is a report from working class England, which is otherwise seldom allowed to speak, but which Tommy Robinson gives a voice to, at least to the extent that he's allowed to, because as you will hear and see, great efforts are being made to put obstacles in his way and make him shut up and disappear. But not today. Today the stage is his, and we've been looking forward to this day. Ladies and gentlemen, please give Tommy Robinson a warm welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'd like to start by thanking Morten and the Danish People's Party, and also the Danish Free Press Society for giving me this opportunity today. It's been roughly 3 years since I was last here. I'm still very grateful for that opportunity. I'm grateful for any opportunity to speak in Parliament, because I wouldn't get near the British Parliament. We actually struggle to even hire venues to have speeches or seminars. The documentary which we're going to watch today is called Silenced. But before we get onto the documentary, I want to talk a little bit about freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is the greatest liberty. It allows good and bad ideas to be heard. It allows truth to expose lies, and it allows good to expose evil. It's important to hear all sides of the debate so you can think for yourselves. You see, when they censored me, I've been deleted off of all social media. When they took away my voice, they didn't just cancel me, they cancelled you. They cancelled the public's ability to make their own mind up, to listen to the alternative view, to hear the other side of the story. They want to tell you how to think and what to think, especially about certain individuals like myself. Taking free speech is the first step to establishing their tyranny. The problem is, when they took my free speech, everyone celebrated it. When I was deplatformed, when I was cancelled, every journalist, every media and every politician celebrated the fact that I was cancelled. I was not put before any court. I've never been arrested or tried on any hate crimes or race crimes or anything like that. The problem they have, the censorship started with ourselves. We were talking about open border migration. We were talking about some uncomfortable truths around Islam. The problem being that governments don't want an open discussion about mass migration or Islam, as it will expose the catastrophic failures of their unilateral multicultural experiment that has failed across Europe. The problem is, the goalposts continue to change. They keep shifting. You may find yourself on the right side of free speech today. It started off with censoring people like Tommy Robinson, like myself, and it was celebrated. Only now, it's scientists, it's doctors, it's nurses. The list of things you're not allowed to talk about: COVID, the vaccine, now transgenderism. It continually shifts. So to our haters and to our doubters, to the people who celebrate our censorship, at some point you may find yourselves on the wrong side of free speech, so long as we allow the state to decide what is acceptable to talk about. If you look at J.K. Rowling, she now finds herself as a hate figure for standing up for women. The next, and what's coming in the future, minor attracted people, as they try to normalise the sexualisation of children. There has been no violent revolution, but the revolution has happened. Hate-filled progressive groups and ideas have infiltrated our schools and our universities. Their graduates have entered the corporate world and the public sector. They run the media. Some politicians believe and champion their ideas. Others dare not dissent. Big tech carries out surveillance on the population on behalf of the state. Anyone who read the Twitter files is fully aware of what's going on. Politicised police and judges are just following their orders. We are all custodians of the most priceless cultural inheritance of all: freedom of speech. Every single emotion and feeling you can think of and name, from fear to murder to torture to being locked in solitary confinement for your entire life, these are all feelings and emotions that people have gone through previous to us in order to preserve and protect freedom of speech. If we open up the dictionary, I've done it earlier, I opened up the dictionary and looked up the word free. It says costs nothing. Freedom of speech isn't free. It never has been. Millions of people have sacrificed and died in order to preserve that freedom that we have. When I read the word free and it says costs nothing, since exercising my freedom of speech, I've spent a year on solitary confinement. I've been in 10 prisons. I've had violent beatings. There's terrorists in jail for planning to murder us. 6 of the main British banks have closed me. PayPal have closed me. MailChimp have closed me. Every single social media social media company in the world have deplatformed me. I've had 15 years of court cases and state persecution for exercising my free speech. This is the battle of our generation. It will be viewed upon when we're successful. People will look back upon speeches like this. They will remember them. They will review them. And the film you're about to watch now, it's called Silenced. It's just the behind the scenes of one story that I reported on. The only problem being, I've been given an injunction by the British state. I've been given an injunction that says I get 2 years in prison if certain information and truths are shown to the public. What could it be that the British establishment are that terrified of the public seeing? What you're going to witness is the proof of an unholy alliance of government and media conspiring together in order to drive and push a narrative around the world. You're also going to see the extreme lengths that they will go to silence any dissenting voices that get in the way of their narrative. I'd like you all to ask yourself, especially if you're watching this, what are you willing to sacrifice for freedom of speech? What lengths are you willing to go to protect it? I know that when I look at my children, and all of us should think about our children, and certainly the next generation, as we go into this big tech-controlled world of more control and less freedom, and know that I'll be able to look my children in their eye and tell them that I gave everything in my battle for freedom of speech and my battle to expose those who attempted to curtail it and take it from us. The stakes literally could not be higher. If we lose our freedom of speech, our freedom to think is what will become the next casualty. Scrutiny dies and tyranny reigns. Common sense, truth, and courage are contagious. They act like a disease that is unstoppable. It is my hope that this disease will continue to spread so we can reclaim free speech, so we can resist tyranny and preserve the cultural inheritance of equality, democracy, and liberty for future generations. I'll ask now, this is a long film. It's a long film. I cut it down as much as I could, okay? It's a long film to include everything. I'd ask that people refrain from putting videos out of parts of the documentary. As I said, there's an injunction in place, and I believe it's in the words of Jesus Christ. They say, the truth shall set you free. Not anymore. Not in 2023. The truth shall get you 2 years in prison. We'll now watch the film. Thank you.
Now we'll continue. Before we start the Q&As, Morten Messerschmidt wants to say a few words. Morten, the floor is yours.
When I was asked whether I would put my name to this meeting today with the Trykkefrihedsselskabet and Tommy Robinson here, I was warned. I was told that it would be bad for me in the media. I would be not in the good society, of which I'm not so unaccustomed. But now, having met Tommy and having seen your excellent movie, I say that Trykkefrihedsselskabet and Tommy Robinson is absolutely not the problem. The problem is that we have too many Jamals and too few Tommys in this continent and here in Europe. And as you all know, Danish People's Party was now almost 30 years ago founded as the first political party to say no, to rebel against the general dogma of migration being a good thing. Building on tremendous forces from Tidehverv and other civil societies that had been leading to now a political force which is spreading in many parties. But only Danish People's Party apparently wanted to host, or not host, but facilitate that Trykkefrihedsselskabet could host this today. And I'm very humble and I'm very honored that this movie, depicting what sadly is the reality and the everyday experience of so many youngsters around, not only in the UK, not only in Denmark, but also in France, in Germany, all over Europe, experiencing the consequences of Muslim migration, has been inaugurated, has been having its premiere here in the Danish Parliament. Because I feel that Denmark, in some ways, are pivotal in the fight for free speech. Denmark and the Danes stood up in 1940 with the German occupation. We stood up in 1972 with the election on the common market, which was an abolishment of national sovereignty. Danes stood up in 83 when the first ideology of free migration was put into Danish legislation. And of course, more widely known, in numerous referendums when EU wanted more and more power over our nation, not least on free speech, which is now being continentally leading where more and more suppression on the free speech is being dominated by the EU court, by the Human Rights Court, and sadly so, also by the national institutions being so inflicted by the human laws dogma. And we're seeing that all over the continent. And therefore it is so logical that Denmark is hosting this movie depicting the realities. And therefore I want, just from the bottom of my heart to extend my thanks to you, Tommy, having maybe not suffered the greatest loss, but almost seeing your family falling apart for fighting what you know is the truth. And I hope that men, women, families all over Europe will find that as an inspirational force to, maybe not as eloquent, maybe not as brilliant, but in their own words, to bring to knowledge what is the truth and which the politically infected medias will not tell. So you are a lighting torch, and we will help you bring the light out all over the continent. Thank you.
Thank you, Morten. It is so important that Danish political parties and their leaders stand up to freedom of expression and also support those who uncompromisingly and fearlessly fight for free speech. So thank you, Morten, for your speech. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michael Jordan. I'd like to ask you, and thank you, first of all, for your courage and all your... I'd like to ask you, what are your plans, your hopes for bringing out your documentary to a wider audience than here in the Danish Parliament and whatever comes out of that? And how do you see, what do you expect with regard to the reception of the documentary? And also, could you speak a little more about the repercussions you expect?
Okay. I have plans. Ian knows about my plans, which I think you will all be reading in the world news in the coming weeks. Without saying too much, I do have, my job is to get as many eyes on this film as humanly possible, which is why I'm so grateful for Morten, for the Danish Free Press Society, to allow me to premiere it in such a prestigious setting. The problem I've had, when I done Panodrama, some of you may have seen Panodrama, it was an expose of the BBC. And when we done that, we done it to an audience of 10,000 people on a 20-metre screen outside of the BBC's head office. And not one single British journalist reported on it. We exposed John Sweeney, the head of BBC, as fabricating news, and the controlled media was exactly that, controlled. So how do I, someone who's censored and blacklisted from everywhere, get around that? That is what I've been working on or planning to get it to a maximum audience. That is our biggest problem. We rely on people, and we rely on the people that are part of a movement. We class ourselves as a movement to help us spread the word and share the videos. The reality is, unfortunately, even when I've done last year, I've done 4 Rape of Britain documentaries, which deserve to be viewed by millions and millions and millions, but they haven't. They've been viewed by hundreds of thousands. I believe that as we shift in time, I believe as the 2024 American election comes up, I believe that we are relying on outside forces to hope that alternative voices are given platforms. To Elon Musk talks a lot about citizen journalism. I'm not just saying it because it's my work. I think that's the best piece of citizen journalism Elon Musk or anyone will ever watch. But yet he's blacklisted me. He has deleted me. I was given back my platform within 2 weeks. I had nearly 100,000 followers on Twitter. It felt good to be reaching the public again. And then I was deleted. And I believe I was deleted because I produced a documentary called The Phantom Rape Gang, which was actually contrary to what everyone would say about me. I went to a town where I found a girl was lying. She was making accusations against Muslim men. And I told the story that they didn't expect me to tell. The Muslim man has been defending me on social media. And basically, for years now, I've had to watch as people just lie. I have to follow people on social media, and I have to follow news stories where there's lie after lie after lie about who I am, what I've said and what I've done. And my ability to even counteract them has been taken from me. So a lot of those things are out of my hands, but I guarantee you will be seeing more about this film on the world's news coming pretty soon. So.
Hello, Tommy. Thank you very much for your work and for being here. I don't know if it's a little bit off topic, but would you care to comment about Andrew Bridgen, Mr. Andrew Bridgen? We've seen some strange videos from the English Parliament in which parliamentary members are boycotting his speeches on COVID vaccination.
Yeah, he's the only politician in Britain who's not controlled, who dare speak out. And for speaking out, they've abandoned him. He's now being painted by the media, similar situations as we are, as crazy, as not well, as a fraud. All the similar labelling that we face is now what he faces. And that's what anyone faces who steps out of line. You saw Mark Stein. While we're here, we'll talk about, you've heard of the news, you know who Mark Stein worked for. So he was the same when he started speaking out. He was deleted, he lost his job. And that's meant to be the alternative news platform for Britain that has free speech. They have shows talking about free speech. I even spoke to 4 of their presenters who are banned from mentioning my name. Which just shows again, and I'll talk, I've had meetings recently with a company called Mice Media in the United States, and their plan is very, very encouraging. It is to decentralize media. It is to take the power away from the media. It's media on the blockchain. It would be impossible. The only way they could manage to turn off our videos is to turn off the internet. Now, this is needed more than ever. They have big backing. I believe it's about to launch in 2 or 3 weeks. So I look at many things that can happen, hope they happen. And but Andrew Bridges, he's a shining light, to be honest, because I don't trust any politicians in our country. None of them are brave enough to speak out about any of the issues. And unfortunately, what they've done is, where we've stood up and spoke about issues that they were uncomfortable talking about, now they're comfortable to talk about them. But in order to talk about them, they slam us first, they attack us, which gives them the confidence to then speak about certain issues, which we don't mind being the fool guys, as long as they're talking about the issues. But yeah, I think Andrew's great.
So, like I told you before, I'm leading a legal case against Meta Platforms on behalf of Trykkefrihedsselskabet, among other things, to be able to mention your name on Facebook. Have you tried legally challenging like big social media platforms and their claim to have the right to censor you without any kind of explanation or reasoning given why they do censor you?
So, if you put on YouTube Tommy Robinson Cambridge children, you'll see a video where I was out with my children in the city of Cambridge in England, and I was approached by the police and told I needed to leave the city. And I said, why do I need to leave the city? And the person running the restaurant we were in come over to the police and said, excuse me, they're causing no problems. They've been in here, they're having a meal. And they said, leave the city or you'll be arrested. Now, when you watch this video, my children get hysterical. The police follow us with cameras. They escort us and make us leave the city because my presence could cause a disruption. So when I had such a clear-cut case like that, and you can watch the video, it had millions of views. It was so black and white. I took them to court. The judge ruled against me. And when in these cases, you have to pay the other side's legal fees, which is what this whole thing that you've seen was financial terrorism. When this case started against me, they took 5 witness statements. Jamal, his sister, his mum, his dad. They put in a £35,000 bill, their lawyers did. And they get 100% uplift. £70,000. As soon as I saw this, I knew exactly what they were doing. This isn't about justice, it's not about truth. This is about financial terrorism, about destroying me financially, leaving me broken without anything so that my family are reliant on the state. when I was of the opinion it's time to fight back. When they done this to my children, when you watch this video, we went to court, the judge ruled against me. Even though there's a video, she still ruled against me. You know, if you go on, I don't advise you do it, but if you go on Wikipedia and put in Tommy Robinson and read my Wikipedia page, you'll it's not blessed. But it doesn't. That's not who I am. And when you read the convictions against me, I have never been convicted by a jury. I've never had a jury. So when they talk about my trials or my tribulations or my court cases, I've never been tried by a jury. I find that insane. I've received prison sentences after prison sentences by judges, by a corrupt judiciary, which I now find out you have corrupt judiciaries in your country. And this film that I've just showed, the purpose of the film is, this film is far bigger than Tommy Robinson's story. This is about me, yes, but even those people who don't like me, you could take exactly what's happening here. All we've done is exposed how they operate. That's happening across the world. I think Donald Trump's about to be handcuffed this week, isn't he? Is he right? Again, the corruption of the judiciary or the weaponization of the judiciary is what this film talks about and I'd say proves. There is no way that a judge can come to the conclusion he did. Least of all, I proved everything in that case. I proved it without doubt. But the purpose of this case was to leave me bankrupt. It was to destroy my family. It was to target us. And they were successful in doing that. But that's not just against me. You all know Katie Hopkins? You know Katie Hopkins? Katie Hopkins was taken through similar court proceedings. When I spoke to her at the start of this, she said, Tommy, pay them. Pay them. You have no idea what they can do, whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. When I went through what they'd done to her, they took money from her I believe it was her new partner had savings from his previous relationship in his bank. They seized that money. They change every law. They break every law. So when you realise you're up against what you're up against, and remember, and I'm just Tommy Robinson from Luton Town, this is happening to people across our country, across Europe, and across the world. And that's what I hope this film awakens people to exactly what's going on. Again, that is just the behind the scenes of one news story that we covered. Just one. Think about all the different stories or documentaries we've made and what's been going on behind the scenes with the powers that be and the corruption of the officials from start to finish of each documentary we've been making, the lengths they've gone to silence and stop it. But yeah.
Hi, Tommy.
Hiya.
Thanks for coming. I'm just wondering because there are so much censor, in the media. And it's how can we fight this? Because it's there's so much corruption, as you are example of, that you're trying to show us. But when other people, like for example me and a lot of other people I know, try to share something, we get banned, we get our profile closed. It's like there's so much. The whole world is a stage, stage from the media, how you're supposed to see, what you're supposed to think. How can we fight this? Because it's like also the normal people in Denmark, if you ask, they want, they want, sources, and you can not always find the right sources because it's not in the mainstream media, And if it's not in the normal mainstream media, people don't accept it as real things,
I fully understand.
I don't know. I get a little bit nervous to speak. So
that's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. How do we fight this?
How do we fight it? Has anyone been? I've been watching what's happening in the Republic of Ireland. I made a film, Plantation 2, Rise of the Celts, and the citizen journalism that I've witnessed there from gentlemen like Derek Bly and Philip Dwyer has been the most encouraging thing I've seen in years. This is ordinary people. We're all ordinary people doing extraordinary things. How do we compete with a media that is totally controlled, with a big tech that is totally controlled, that doesn't want us to have a voice and wants to control the narrative? Again, I don't want to put all of my eggs in one basket, but I am encouraged by this Mice Media, which is about to launch, which is, if you look at what crypto and Bitcoin has done to the banks, the idea is that Mice Media will do the same to the media. It will decentralize the media. It will be a platform that everyone can use, that no one can be taken down from. It's not controlled by any corporations. It's not controlled by one person. But I fully understand your frustration, because do you know how disheartening it is when you're talking to millions and then you're talking to thousands? And then you realise that you're not bringing about change anymore because you can't reach the masses. Because you're right, how do we still reach the masses? I think that I sit there and look at the last 2 years. This was 2 years ago. And I look at what we've produced in the last 2 years. We've produced 4 documentaries, The Rape of Britain. We've produced the Hope Not Hate expose. We've just continued to plug away and keep going with our work. And other than, I think citizen journalism is the answer to all of the problems. I think even when I looked at the attack, when the Russian missile went into Poland, in history that would have launched a war, yeah? But within minutes, because of these, it was proved that it wasn't a Russian missile. Yeah? There was a friendly fire within minutes. So citizen journalism, and each one of us taking it upon ourselves to share content, to make content. And again, I'll just bring you back to Republic of Ireland. But what I keep stressing to the lads in the Republic of Ireland is they're going to come for you. Yeah? You're having that moment because you've got ahead of the curve. I got ahead of the curve. I was viewed by tens of millions of people. Once they realise that your voice and the power you're gaining, they delete you and they go for you. So the lads at the minute still have their YouTube accounts in Ireland, and they're growing, their numbers are going through the roof, their views are going through the roof, but that is only temporary. That's only temporary until the powers that be decide to silence them and censor them again. So the question you have is the million-dollar question. How do we manage to reach people when all of our ideas are censored and even the documentaries we put out can't be shared? I don't know, but all I do know is we just keep plugging along, and I hope at some point it gets better, and I hope at some point with elections in different countries and I know now the general public are more susceptible, are more ready to listen than they've ever been. They know they've been lied to about the pandemic. They know they've been lied to about time after time. So if they're questioning that, they're questioning previous things. I have lots of people who say to me now, especially in the last couple of years, since they realise the lies that are being propagated by the media, I think the public are ready to listen more than ever. It's how we reach them.
You keep saying they, so I would like to know who you think are they. And I'd like to know what your idea is about why do you think that we are having this support of mass migration, and what is there one bigger goal, or is it just individuals getting more money out of it and more power of supporting this because it's what's popular right now? Do you think there is one goal with this?
I think there is one goal, and I think it's very evident. Again, I'll go back to the Republic of Ireland. The Republic of Ireland is currently having a migration crisis, but it's a crisis that when you look at it, they've volunteered themselves into. Unelected officials who haven't been voted in, who are in charge, have voluntarily elected to the migration pacts of the European Union, and they've actively sought out to bring people into their country. They've changed the languages of their messages, and they've sent them out to Africa, to Sudan, to Somalia, to Pakistan, guaranteeing people housing. Now, Ireland, people don't go to Ireland. They haven't had migration. The Irish leave. Yeah? There isn't great work there. But now all of a sudden in the last 12 months, they're being flooded. I think they've had 100,000 people. Why do I think it's happening? To break down communities, in order for them to be able to totally control us. If you understand who you are, if you have a strong it's the same reason why they've broke the family. They don't want the family. If you have a strong family unit, if you have a strong history, if you understand your identity, your culture and where you come from, you will fight for it. If you don't understand any of those things, you won't be half as bothered. And I believe that the whole migration, when I look at it now, we've all been played against each other. I believe that it is a corporation-led movement in order to break down our communities and our togetherness and play us all against each other. And it's worked at times. They want you black, you white, you gay, you straight. They want to divide everyone into their little controllable groups. And the whole time, whilst they're doing that, they're taking our powers and freedoms of all of us. I believe that Black Lives Matter was exactly the same. It was introduced for the same reasons, to cause division, not to cause unity. And it's worked. And sometimes I think I hold my hands up. At times I've played into it myself when I've got angry and frustrated. And we can be as frustrated as we want. I am as frustrated as I want at the teachings of Islam, but I also believe the Muslim community have been thrust upon us in order for them to gauge more control, in order for them to bring in more laws, in order for them to take our freedoms and our speech and all of these things. So I think that they want breakdown of society. And I know that these ideas used to be total conspiracy theorists and people would label you as a lunatic. Well, when I done my investigation into the Republic of Ireland, their politicians changed the languages. They changed the languages to 8 different languages in 2021. They sent out on social media, the lead politician did, he translated it saying that refugees will get a front door key to their house within 4 months of coming to the country. I then done, January 2022, looked at the numbers that have come into the Republic of Ireland. The top 9 countries, 8 of them are the languages that he chose. Yeah? He has gone out and he has they have gone to these countries to bring people in when they already have a housing crisis, when they already have a financial crisis. So to say it's not planned would be so naive, because now you can actually see it. I think when Angela Merkel opened up the borders in 2015, was it 2015? I realised then they don't care. They don't care if we know. They don't care. At that point, it was like, they don't care. You're coming in. And you look at whether it be the Barcelona Declaration, you look at this plan to flood Europe, which is what we're seeing, to change the face of our countries forever, to change our cultures forever, to take away our freedoms and safety forever. I look at my hometown of Luton, I was born in 1982, that had 1 mosque, it now has over 40. It's not changing for the better. It's not changing for the better. Do I blame the people who are coming? No, I don't. I blame our politicians, and I blame the people who are working for the United Nations, or whether it be the World Economic Forum or these mass corporations of even the European Union. But yeah, I believe, as you say, the answer to the question is the purpose is to break down our resilience and break down our community spirit.
Hi, Tommy.
Hi.
Tommy, when do we have reached the point of no return regarding the elite and Islam? Do you understand the question?
Yeah, I understand the question. I had this question off of my wife's nan in 2012, probably. When I was arrested and when I was released, I come home, I walked in, she said, "It's too late. Why are you fighting?" And I think if everyone had that attitude previously to us, we'd all be speaking German. And I think that when you look at what people sacrificed and gave and fought for, when you say, when is it too late? It's never too late. So long as you continue to fight, it's never too late. We are in the biggest battle we could ever face. We have the biggest problems ahead of us we could ever face. We are against the best funded ideology we could ever face. We are literally David versus Goliath. It is us versus them. It is total control and taking of our freedoms versus people who want freedom and people who are willing to fight for it. And I think that what they've managed to do is where if you can start getting deep into the masculinity of men now, they've weakened what a man is. They've weakened the spirit of men. They've weakened the resilience and the fight in men. And I think we need to remember who we are. Every one of us need to remember who we are, where we come from and what we've gone through previously. And regain that spirit and that willingness to fight. And I think, as you said, men follow courage. Men look to other men for courage. And I think they will follow. And I think that I know so many people say it here in our country, what is going to be the moment? When will be a moment that changes the direction or the destruction of Europe? If 26 children being blown up at the Ariana Grande concert in Manchester didn't awaken our country, unfortunately we've got a hell of a lot more bloodshed to come. But none of us, I don't think, can predict what that moment will be. But I think that when you have a population that are thinking a certain way, that have all been silenced, I believe that when that moment comes, it will come so quick, so fast. I think that when people do finally rise up and scream and shout and fight, it will happen so quick, so fast. And I think that it will be unstoppable at the point that it does. And I think the politicians are going to get a shock. Who knows whether that moment will come in an election or which country in Europe it will come. Who knows whether it will come when the French government try to impose their actual laws against the Islamic community. Who knows what will be the defining moment. But there will be a moment. And I cling on hope to the fact that that moment will come. And when it does come, people will rise up. But what can we do between now and then? We can educate and we can highlight and we can make sure people are aware of what's going on around them. We can talk about these issues. I said that now we need more speech than we've ever needed. We need to open and free debate about every single one of these issues. We need to be able to question them. But yeah, who knows? Thank you.
Hi, Tommy. I'm Pihl.
Hiya.
Just shortly on the media, social media. You talked about Twitter. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dave Rubin.
Oh yeah, Dave Rubin's new one. I've just been looking at it last week.
Yeah.
This is called, what's it called? No, Dave Rubin's new one.
I mean, locals.com.
Yeah.
He started this one, and they have gone together with Rumble.
Yeah.
So
I only looked at this last week. And I only looked at this again, as I said, when I was looking at the decentralized media. I went out to a conference in Paris. It was an NFT conference. Did anyone know about NFTs? I never knew anything about NFTs, yeah? I didn't know anything about them. In fact, it all seemed a bit mad to me, these digital images that people are buying. And that's when I met these gentlemen who are running this Mice Media, and it's decentralized media. So it is that 10,000 people buy an NFT, they become in control of the centralized media, but there are servers across the world so that they can't be targeted, like when Parler was shut down. The only way they could shut this new organisation down, which is media on the blockchain, would be through turning off the internet, which they can't do. So that would mean that forever, when I put this out, there's no way they can take it down. Yeah. That's what I'm actually holding this for myself, is that they will not be able to take it down. But Dave Rubin's thing, I've only just started looking at it last week. I think that the answer to all these problems is more things like this will spring up. You need more of them that are supported by well-financed and well-backed people in the United States, but they need to be uncontrollable.
But you know, he also visited the Twitter headquarters, and he actually sat down with Elon Musk and some of his software engineers, and they looked through it, and it was just layer after layer after layer of corrupt programming. And Elon Musk, he sat together with them until 2 a.m. in the night time. He was going to Washington the next day, and he said, "Okay, I'm really tired. Can I go now? My engineers will help you." Yes, just go to sleep. And actually, he said that he might be forced to reprogram the whole
the
shit.
entire thing.
Yeah,
I remember
and make it open source as well.
Yeah, I remember watching it. That was about 2 months ago when this was going on.
Yeah, right.
Well, I hope that Elon Musk has just not got round to breaking down the system yet, and it'll give me back my account, because I haven't broken any laws or rules, and it's exactly what he spoke about. Oh, he's come in and actually done to me exactly what he's had a go at the previous owners for doing to people. So I'll just share one bit of news, and that's at Luton. I just want to watch one quick thing, because my children have been at Luton Town's football match today. And these are the images. It's our right. Luton are playing Watford, which is our arch rivals, and we beat them 2-0. And as I've been saying, and my children are all sending me video after video after video. So yeah.
Just one short question to you, Tommy, and thank you for doing all this work on behalf of us, our children, etc. How can we, in any way, best directly support your work?
So again, at the minute, I work for a company called Urban Scoop, which is who produces the content. It's who helps us with our finances or travel, and it is literally. You see what they've done? They're very clever in what they've done, because they've made it impossible. They've literally made it impossible to work. If you look at the content we've produced is on a shoestring in compared to the budgets that they have. But the one thing we have is access that they don't have. We can tell stories that no one else can tell because people open their doors to us. So I'm bankrupt. And I was bankrupt. I've come out of bankruptcy. I'm currently owed the courts another £30,000 now. They're hounding me every day with letters. So Urban Scoop is who I work for. That's the company. If anyone wants to support that organisation, then they cover our topic. It's the admins who are on there constantly, the researchers, and the work we're doing. So, thank you. But mainly just by sharing the content. Take the content, talk to your friends about it, stick it in their WhatsApp groups. You'll all annoy your families, but email it out to them. Tell them to actually open their eyes rather than read the headlines.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you. So, this event has come to an end. Thank you so much for coming. All of you, get home safely. And remember to check our website, www.trykkefrihed.dk. You can find all of Tommy Robinson's, links to all of Tommy Robinson's documentaries at our website. So have a nice Easter. Get home safely.